Hello everyone and welcome back to Mediak. So, I'm a little bit late to the party, but for some reason I don't feel like that's a big deal this time. Yeah, I've basically heard no one talk about this season, well, apart from Cassie and my brother yapping in my ear and essentially forcing me and G to watch it. I don't even know why I didn't want to watch it. I don't think I was alone though. There were so many people that skipped out on this season. I think a very large part of this chalks up to the stupid-ass release schedule. I don't know why Rob insisted on releasing these things in this dumb way. The reason I didn't watch it initially was because I was going to have to wait anyway, so why not just get it all at one time? When the second part rolled around, I didn't see any yap about it, so I just didn't feel a rush to watch it. And once I started it, I didn't feel any rush to finish it. There was no sauce in the vibe of the season. Now re-listen to that. I'm not saying that Season 2 didn't have any sauce or vibe. There just wasn't any sauce in the vibe. Invincible Season 1 felt like an event, from Episode 1 to Episode 8. People were screaming and losing their minds, and there was a lot of talk. Season 2 just didn't have that. And I really just don't understand why, though, because after finishing the season last night, I can confidently say that, yeah, it's pretty darn good. One thing I really like about the season is that it makes it evident that this isn't going to be like Season 1. This being the most obvious with the reverse of the Invincible joke from last season. In Episode 1, there's a big pause before every character says Invincible, because the audience is expecting a cutaway.
And if you still think you can stop us, don't forget, I'm invincible.
They could really use Invincible.
When was the last time you went out as Invincible?
Maybe. No way he lives up to his name. He's definitely not invincible.
I guess he really is invincible.
I won't rest until I've killed!
I really like this, though. In retrospect, it's so funny. And like I said earlier, it shows that the season is going to be different. Season 2 is not as action-focused as the first season. I'm not saying that there isn't as much action, but the action isn't the focus of the show anymore. It's definitely the characters and how they react to the finale of last season. Mark spends Season 2 trying his best not to be his dad, and Debbie has to cope with her husband calling her a pet and wasting 20 years of her life. I think this is fantastic. A small complaint I had about the first season is that the character arcs weren't super interesting. Season 1 is a spectacle with insane twists and an interesting mystery aspect. Season 2 is a sad story about grief and the horrible unpredictability of life. Each of the episodes in the season have a much larger impact and were way more memorable in my opinion. There were a handful of fantastic moments within Season 1, but there were some moments that sometimes dropped into a bleh territory. Season 2 is very consistent with its quality, and still no one talks about it. Even my friends who finished the show didn't even want to talk to me about it until I finished it. This is crazy to me. There's a lot that happens in this season, and a lot that I liked and wanted to talk about. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the final episodes, but there's no reason to overlook the middle parts. I think the middle of this season is the high point, which is contrast to Season 1, where the high points were the beginning and the end. I genuinely didn't expect to see Omni-Man when we did. I knew something was off when the Bugman showed up as something familiar to Mark. I just didn't figure that it was Nolan. I knew that he cared about Mark due to the end of last season. I just didn't think that he actually genuinely really cared. Nolan in the season was a shocking showcase of how great this show can be. I didn't think it was possible to make me on his side again, but I also didn't think it was possible to make me detest him. Season 2 managed to do both. His arc in this season made me go through an emotional roller coaster. Initially, I was just confused because I didn't expect to see him this soon. Then I got pissed because he cheated on Debbie, and no one hurts Debbie. To top that off, he has another kid with his new wife. I was ready to hate him forever and never forgive him. Cheating is terrible, mass murder is horrible, but hurting Debbie tops that list. However, I began to feel conflicted. I was hesitant to be okay with Mark trusting him. I felt like it was a trap of some kind. Even during the fight with the other Viltrumites, I felt like it was staged, but it definitely wasn't. He really cares in some way about the people he deems lower. But in the end of the season, I was actually ready to cheer him on, especially with Allan by his side. Speaking of Allan, oh my god, wow, nice transition, Zach. You're so cool. Thank you, Mediak fan. I know I'm the best. I like Allan. I really liked Allan in Season 1. I thought he was really funny, especially Seth Rogen's voice. For those who don't know, Seth Rogen is the producer of Invincible, The Boys, and the new TMNT. What a recent resume, am I right? Understandably, he makes a cameo in all of them. This is totally fair. If you back a project and help make it, you're allowed to be in it. But I felt like Allan was stepping out of cameo department and slowly moving into self-insert section. I haven't read the Invincible comic because I think the show is a bit too good to spoil, so I don't know how much play he actually gets in there. However, it felt like it was weird that he came back to life. Invincible is one of those shows where I didn't feel like anyone was safe. So when Allan came back to life and stronger, I just felt meh about it. By the end, I turned around on him. Seth Rogen is a charming guy, and I like Allan's design. Also, the no one is safe mentality kind of faded away completely by the end of Season 2. There were a handful of fake-out deaths, and I am just not a fan. Technically, you can include Donald, but his was used for a shockingly good plot point. But Rex, Kate, and the Shrinking Gray had fake-out deaths all within the same episode. I knew Rex wasn't going to die. He needed more time to stop being an asshole, and the writers just needed to beat him up a little bit more. Ray was actually going to have one of the most disgusting deaths in the show, but for some reason they decided to keep her alive. She barely had a personality. I can count her voice lines on my hand. Why did she have to survive? Whatever. I rolled my eyes, but I was fine with it. The final straw was in the last episode whenever Kate was revealed to be alive. Whatever. This isn't a show with stakes anymore. One fake-out death is fine. Rex needed to be tortured for cheating. 2 is okay. I'll roll my eyes, but maybe they have a plan for the character in the future. 3 is just too many. I don't care about the Immortal and Kate's relationship, not even a little bit. Okay, I guess it's time that I talk about the only thing that people want to talk about within this season. The Fortnite reference! Whoop whoop! Invincible's in the Fortnite dimension! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Kidding, obviously. Angstrom Levy is one of the main villains of the season. But that's not fully accurate, because he's not really a main villain. He started it, and he ended it. He's more of a monster of the week kind of villain, at least to Invincible. But that's what makes him interesting. Mark barely knows him, but Levy hates Mark. Mark isn't just his enemy. Mark is evil incarnate to him. I love this aspect of the final fight. I'm not sure how true this is, but I don't think Mark would have killed him if he was a friend that turned bad and attacked his family, or like a villain he's fought a lot. Angstrom wasn't all that much more threatening than any other monster of the week. He just so happened to hurt his family. Mark doesn't know this guy, so the only emotion he can feel towards him is anger. And then bam, the stars align, and Mark loses it and kills him.
He made me do it. It was an accident, but he made me do it. I thought he was stronger. He told me he was stronger.
I'm not the first person to say this, and I won't be the last. This line is fantastic. Not only is this Mark attempting to cope with what he did by blaming Levy, but this also could be the audience's reaction to what was happening. Angstrom was the first plotline of the season. Throughout the 8 episodes, he kept making appearances, but nothing significant. A big complaint I had before finishing the season was that we never got to see him do anything. A random guy on the internet said that Angstrom was Invincible's most important villain. I saw this a few years ago, and I'm not really sure where from, but I kept thinking about it throughout the season. Then the final episode rolled around, and halfway through he's dead. I thought you were stronger. This isn't a complaint. I absolutely love when my expectations are subverted, especially if it's going to change the plot in a good way. I really wasn't expecting him to die. Why the hell is no one talking about this season? It is easily better written than the first. The action wasn't as grand, and there weren't as many big events like the death of the Guardians and the train scene. I did greatly appreciate the impact frames in the last couple episodes, though. As an animator, I've grown to love impact frames. They aren't super important, but they're such a fun way to make the scene more intense and, well, impactful. It was really hard to come up with a number for this whenever G and I first finished it. There were points that far outshine the first season. For example, G was really interested in the Viltrumite story and the battle in space. However, there were points that we really didn't like the weird time travel bit in the final episode. I hate time travel, and I think it's very rarely done well. This is not an exception. Eve's speech was so dumb, and I am not a fan. He and Amber just broke up. It was also already super obvious that Mark and Eve were gonna date. This was just a super stupid addition that just wasn't needed. I hope that this becomes relevant eventually, because it seems like a very dumb way to solve the situation Mark was in. Don't spoil the series if you've read the comic. I just am publicly venting my frustration with the show. Overall, we're both excited for Season 3. The turnaround is apparently going to be shorter for this upcoming season, so that's great. Waiting 3 years sucked, and honestly that might have added to the reason why people don't talk about the show. Invincible Season 2 was really good. I'd share it with a friend. 8.5 out of 10. To end the video, I want to say something really funny about the finale. I love Debbie. She has been nothing but a girl boss since the first episode, and I want nothing but the best for her. She got put through the fucking ringer this season. Me and G were already pissed due to everything she had to go through before the finale, but when Levy broke her arm, we fucking lost it. We were screaming for Invincible to fucking murder the guy. The impact was sort of lost a little bit whenever he actually did it because, you know, he was doing what we wanted. Still, a very impactful moment. It just was funny because our insane connection to Debbie made us also want to kill Angstrom Levy. Alright, well, please subscribe and comment. Bye.